Hi everyone, welcome to this video about descriptive writing. The purpose of this video is to show you three different tasks to show you some of the skills that would get you the grade 4 or above if you were to use some of those skills in the actual exam. Of course, for paper 1, question 5 of AQA this applies to, but descriptive writing is also part of other specifications as well. So I'm going to start this video by looking at an image of a boat, and above the image you can see a typically worded descriptive writing task where they suggest that you write a description about the fishing boat using this image to help you or to prompt you. The word suggested is really important here because sometimes we completely overlook that word and we just look at the picture. But if we think of the word suggested here, suggested means that the examiner doesn't want you to be kind of uh, rigid in your description. They don't want you to be restricted in your description. They just want you to use an image like this to prompt a piece of description. What that means is you don't have to write just about this fishing boat. That doesn't just have to be everything you write about. You can add things into the image as well. You can kind of think about what is behind the image and add in some other things in relation to the context of this image. So don't feel like you have to just stick to this one image for the whole thing. You don't. This is just an idea. You might want to write a piece of description about a completely different fishing boat. Again, you're able to do that because nowhere does it say you have to talk about this fishing boat you see here. So yeah, don't have some flexibility, have some creativity, don't feel restricted because that's not really the ethos of this task. And here we have a passage of descriptive writing. Now, two things to note here. Firstly, I've kept in my mistakes, so I've deliberately just put a cross through things I didn't like to show you that it's perfectly okay to make mistakes and cross them out. That's a lot of the time what English is about and what writing is about. If you look at the manuscripts of published novels, novels that have sold millions of copies over the years, the manuscripts are a right mess because of the way in which the author has crossed out things, redrafted things. It's part of the process of good writing. So the examiner is expecting you to make mistakes. They are expecting you to cross things out. So don't feel that your writing has to be neat. I know there is a temptation to feel a bit OCD about it, but it's perfectly okay to cross things out because it shows a writer thinking about what they're saying. The second thing is, of course, around the outside, the bits I've underlined are some skills that have been shown off here, and I put those in the boxes around the outside. So you can see that in describing this fishing boat, you've got this phrase hypnotic motion. So it's very kind of, there's a confidence there with vocabulary. You've got the metaphor, curtain of mist. You've got prepositions, and prepositions are a really effective way of making your writing and your paragraphs seamlessly flow together. So above, beyond, opposite, under, these kind of words that help create a sense of location where things are in relation to each other are really effective ways of making your paragraphs flow together in a coherent way. And the example is quite like that. You've got some personification in there. You've got some lovely imagery by kind of zooming into particular aspects of the image. You've got some parenthesis and brackets there, which is any text you put in brackets. And there's also just a general sense that this writer is confident with sentence structures, that they're confident with terms of just writing in detail. There's a mixture of devices as well. So if I was just to read through this, the small fishing boat swayed from side to side in a hypnotic motion. In the far distance, or in the distance, sorry, flirting with the curtain of mist, the green mountains could be seen, above which was the ocean. Today the water was calm, with only small wavelets which playfully tickled the bottom of the boat. The reflections of the boat bled onto the surface of the water as two fishermen carefully gathered in the fishing nets. Their red and orange overalls were stained with the countless hours of salt water as crabs and lobsters tried to escape the nets. And then paragraph there. And again, it's okay if you forget to put in a paragraph just to put two lines to show that that's where you want to put a paragraph break. Above, an army of seagulls congregated and hovered as they waited for a stray fish to glitter in the summer sun. The captain, a wise and courteous fellow who went by the nickname of Old Bill, for no one knew his real name, stayed at the helm, studying the maps, checking the radar screens, revising the tide times so they could make it back safely to harbour before the tide became too low. Or cormorant bombed into the sea like a torpedo. And that's also a kind of a shorter sentence there to finish. So this is a good start. There are some small errors in it, but you know, it is good. And if you could write a piece of description like this, you would be getting a good amount of marks for it, consistent with getting a grade 4 anyway. So the next image I want to show you is a very different one. Write a piece of description about a stream as suggested by this image. So it's like a woodland stream and a woman perched on a rock there looking down the valley at the sunshine. So this is more like a forest kind of image. And again, similar as before, we've got our piece of descriptive writing with the annotations around the outside. Was anywhere as beautiful as this? It was midday, and all along the valley, pockets of shade created a patchwork along the riverbank. Birdsong erupted melodically from every tree, while small waterfalls made the water bubble and gargle. Moss-covered rocks sat beside larger boulders, proving ideal stepping stones for both animals and people. Under the canopy of leaves, rock pools became mirrors, which were home to an array of creatures: toads, frogs, tadpoles, shrimp, and water spiders. Dragonflies buzzed in the thick, humid air, their wings glinting occasionally as they caught the light. In the bottom of the pools, circular pebbles looked like marbles and pearls. Stood looking down the valley, a tourist perched on the top of one of the larger boulders, ensuring her trainers stayed dry. She had been walking for hours and was enjoying some time away from her phone and any form of civilization. Nature was healing her soul. So you can see here we start with a rhetorical question, which is quite an effective way to begin your writing because it intrigues the reader, it hooks them into your writing. And again, there's just a confidence with punctuation. We've got a colon here. Commas are quite good. We've got some lovely detail, some onomatopoeia. The second paragraph begins with the preposition under, which makes the paragraphs flow seamlessly together and coherently. And there's also some lovely devices like the metaphor, the simile, and so on. So again, a nice piece of descriptive writing. The student would just have to write maybe 2, possibly 3 more paragraphs in order to finish that and get some more marks perhaps. But again, a really good start there. And finally, the last image is similar, although not identical, to an image that came up a few years ago of a market. It was actually a kind of like a painting, I think, of a market. It wasn't a real image. Write a piece of description about a market as suggested by this image. I doubt this will come up in the exam because they've already chosen the market, but this is practice at the end of the day. And finally then, we have our beginnings of our description. The farmer's market proved to be the main attraction in the city centre and occupied most of the high street. The air was filled with delicious scents, sweetness from the apples and strawberries, sourness from the lemons and limes, which were all displayed in a patchwork of vibrant colours for the public's selection. Above the fruit and vegetables, a red and white striped roof protected the food from the rain, which had threatened to fall all morning. Under the tarpaulin, a radio chimed with music and sounded tinny. Occasionally, the market stall holder bellowed at the top of his voice. A bunch of bananas for £1, like a lighthouse's foghorn, sounding into the distance. Produce was put into clear plastic bags once it had been weighed and an elastic band applied to keep everything secure while being carried. Signs written with thick black markers displayed the prices, which were fastened to sticks with clothes pegs. By mid-morning, an army of wasps started to become a problem, the tantalizing scents of glucose proving too irresistible to keep away from. So I've kept my mistakes in there in red, as you can see, just cross them out, and that's fine. Paragraphs, effectively used, a nice preposition above there to begin the second paragraph. Colons for a list as well. Again, it's quite okay to put a list into your writing because it means that you can show off a colon. So think about including a list. You've got a metaphor there, you've got an adverbial beginning, occasionally, comma, and you've also got dialogue which has been punctuated correctly with the punctuation marks there. So punctuation is quite strong here. And there's also a confidence here with sentence structures again. The student here can range between some longer sentences for detail and some shorter sentences for impact maybe. So again, there's just a confidence here in terms of how to write effectively. So a shorter video perhaps, but hopefully useful, showing you some of the effective ways you can get some marks for descriptive writing in relation to the image or just a general task, aimed at getting you a grade 4 or above. Thank you for watching and good luck with your studies.